What's up, tubers? It's Tony, and today we're going to talk about how to replace a leaky low side or high side service port schrader valve on this 2007 Chevy Silverado 1500. We're going to talk also about how to replace the orifice tube that's in here, and the orifice tube is nothing more than a filter. Okay, now before you do any type of air conditioning work on your components in your car, you should always take your vehicle to a mechanic and have the system evacuated of freon. Have all the freon pulled out safely, and then you can come back and do any type of repairs. How do you know that the schrader valve is leaking? Well, or bad? First of all, the air conditioning in your car may not be as cold as it normally would be because your freon is leaking out at one of the service ports. Secondly, you can put your finger over the service port. If you feel pressure, that means you have a leak. You can put a balloon over the service port. If it blows up, you have a leak. You can spray water in it if it bubbles up, or if you simply remove the cap and you see bubbles, that means that you have a bad schrader valve and it needs to be replaced. Now, there are all different types of schrader valve removal tools, but they all do the same thing. Simply insert your schrader valve tool into the service port and rock it back and forth. If you feel resistance, then you have successfully put your schrader valve tool over the schrader valve. Lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, guys. When you remove your old schrader valve, put your new schrader valve on this tool, and you just have to carefully insert the schrader valve, and this time righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. You want this thing to be tight, but you don't want to strip it, okay? That's how you deal with the low side service port, okay? And today's concept works on any car or truck. If your truck setup looks just like this, then we're talking about your truck today. But remember, replacing the schrader valves are the same concept on any car. Now, for the high side service port on GM products, the high side service port, if it's an original high side service port, the schrader valves were not meant or designed to be replaced. You have to replace the whole service port. GM, get that for you. Come on. There's the GM part number for it, guys. Okay. Now, how do you get the high side service port loose? They do make a tool that's sold on eBay or online that will remove this for you, but you don't really need that tool. I'll show you what I do right quick. Take a pair of grip pliers and grip that bottom nut, and get yourself a pair of needle nose pliers, and you want to simply grab this rim right here gently, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, guys, and then you can turn out the old service port for the high side. Now, how do you know that the schrader valve is not removable? Notice that when I put my schrader valve tool in here, there's resistance. If it's an original high side service port on your GM products only, when you stick your schrader valve tool in there, you'll get no resistance. It'll just spin around, and that lets you know that either the service port needs to be replaced, if it's replaceable, or you have to replace the entire line, okay? Whenever you open up the system by removing the high side service port, look down in there, guys. Make sure there's no dirt in there. And before you install your new high side service port, you want to take PAG oil, okay? And this is different from many vehicles, but for this Chevy, it's PAG oil 46. Coat your new O-ring, and then go ahead and screw your new service port in. You want to make sure that this is tight, but don't strip it. Now, these caps, guys, they're nothing more than dust covers. All you need to do is just put the cap over it and give it a couple turns and you're done. Don't try and drive these caps all the way down on this high side service port, because sometimes if you drive this cap down like a nail and you start turning it to remove the cap, a lot of times people don't realize that they've driven the cap on so tight that they are turning out the high side service port, and then freon is going to just start going everywhere, especially if your system still has freon in it. So again, always evacuate the system of freon when you're going to open up a connection line, replace the AC compressor, condenser, or anything of that nature. Any of those components that I just mentioned that has an O-ring in it, you should always coat it, the new O-ring, with PAG oil. Or if you're going to use an old O-ring, inspect it, coat it with PAG oil, and then go ahead and tighten that puppy back up, okay? But again, just remember these service port caps, all you need to do is just screw it on. When you know it's tight, let go, guys. It's just a dust cover, okay? How do I break loose the nuts so that I can get to the orifice tube? 27mm wrench, 7/8 wrench. If you don't have these wrenches, a pair of channel locks, okay, and grip pliers will work just fine. You want to hold this nut because you don't want this to turn, and then take and turn the other nut towards the driver's side of the vehicle to break it loose. So that's just a little bit of pressure, guys. There's nothing in there. So once you break it free, you can go ahead and pull this line out. Your orifice tube is down in here. Notice that it's not in a favorable position for you to look back there and see the orifice tube, so sometimes you need to use a mirror or run your camera back there so you can see the orifice tube, what type it is, and how it's sitting in there, okay? Okay, folks, the GM part number for that '07 Chevy Silverado 1500 4.3 liter motor for the orifice tube, there it is. One more time, remember, anytime you open up a connection within your air conditioning system, you want to make sure that you have the system evacuated of freon first, okay? And any place where there's an O-ring involved, you always want to make sure that you either replace the O-ring with a new one, or if you're reusing an old O-ring, inspect it, coat it with the correct PAG oil, okay? So we talked about how to get the schrader valve out of the low side service port and put it in. We talked about the high side service port. And remember, on GM products, the schrader valve is not replaceable on the high side service port, okay? You must replace the entire service port. I gave you the part number for that. And remember, when you put on the original high side schrader valve, when you stick your tool down in there, you won't get any resistance that tells you that it's not replaceable. Also, if you stick the schrader valve tool into a service port and it locks around something and you're trying to turn it out and it won't come out, the only thing I can tell you guys is you have to check and see if the service port itself is replaceable, or you'll probably have to replace the entire line. So I just wanted to throw that out there to you. The good thing about the Dorman part number, when they made that aftermarket high side service port, their schrader valve is replaceable. I've already tested it, taken it out and put it back in. So good job, Dorman. So in the event that the schrader valve fails, you can simply replace the schrader valve and you don't have to replace the entire service port anymore. So Dorman did a really good job there. Now, right quick, guys, I talked about how to get to the orifice tube. Now, when you look However you look back there, you're going to see two different types of orifice tubes, okay? So these tools here will be your friend. Harbor Freight pick sets, needle nose pliers. So when I look and see the orifice tube that looks like an X, I simply take a pair of needle nose pliers, and sometimes I use a mirror, sometimes I don't. Grip that orifice tube and then slowly pull the orifice tube out. FYI, your new orifice tube should look exactly like your old orifice tube. With your new orifice tube in hand, simply push it back in. It will kind of let you know how far it needs to go. Just push it in and you're done, okay? Now, when I see this type of orifice tube, what I've done is I've taken this little hook set from Harbor Freight, heated it up, cut it a little bit, and then bend it. I bent it to the point where I can use it correctly. So when I see this type of orifice tube, I simply stick this tool down in there, turn it, and then that's why it's important to know how the orifice tube is sitting in there. And then I start pulling it, and there is the orifice tube, okay? Again, your new orifice tube should look exactly like your old orifice tube. When you go to the auto parts store, guys, ask them 2 or 3 times. Make sure you're getting the correct orifice tube to go back in there. Same thing. Insert your orifice tube and just push it in. It will let you know how far it needs to go, because it really doesn't go that far. And that's it. You're done. You can hook everything back up, pull a vacuum on your system, verify that you don't have a leak. That tells you that all of your connections are tight. Then you can go ahead and charge your AC system back up, okay? So that's how you get the schrader, I'm sorry, not the schrader valve. That's how you get the orifice tube out. Right quick, guys, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. These orifice tubes can break, and that happened to me yesterday, okay? There's the head of the orifice tube. It broke off, okay? So I was sitting there looking, and again, remember, this is away from you, so you really can't look in there. So I said to myself, how in the hell am I going to get this off? I'm screwed. So what I did was I took the entire high side line off of the truck. It runs all the way down to the AC condenser. If you need to remove the line, just remove the passenger side headlight, and it will allow you more access to remove, I think it's a 13mm retaining nut, and then you just pull the line off and pull it into the engine and do your business. So with the line removed, I can now look inside of the high side line. So what I did was I took, I believe it's a 15th 64th drill bit, and what I did, I don't advise you doing this if you don't know what you're doing, but if you feel like you can do it, go for it. Now that I could really look inside the line, I took a 15 64th drill bit and I started drilling carefully and slowly into this line, because you don't want to damage the line. As you see, all this stuff started breaking up, and as it broke up, I poured it out to make sure that it didn't go back the other way for some reason. Eventually, at some point in time, the drill bit caught the orifice tube, and when I felt that it grabbed the orifice tube, I put the drill in reverse and started pulling, and the broken orifice tube came out. So with the line off the truck, what I did was I removed the high side service port. I sprayed compressed air through here, pushing any dirt out that may have, or particles that may have gotten trapped. I then went to the opposite end, the part that connects to the AC condenser. I sprayed compressed air all the way through the system, making sure that there was no debris trapped anyplace. Long story short, after I was absolutely sure there were no particles trapped in the line, I took warm water, no soap, warm water, and ran it through this line thoroughly to make sure that I pushed out anything that was trapped. I ran it in from one end, this end, I ran water in through here. When I was absolutely sure that there were no particles in the line, I let it dry for an hour or so. Then I installed it on the truck, made sure my connections were tight, pulled a vacuum, okay? And I haven't charged the truck up yet, but I'm going to pull a vacuum and charge the truck up. And I know it's going to be fine because I've done this 1,000 times. But that's how you get your orifice tube out should it break, okay? Again, I'm not telling you to drill into this line. I'm just giving you options so you know what to do. Because otherwise, if you can't get the orifice tube out because it broke, you're going to have to purchase a whole new line, okay? Right quick, you'll see these dumb tools on eBay, Amazon, and just about every place on the internet. They are schrader valve removal tools, high side service port, low side service port. They're supposed to connect over the service port and allow you to remove the schrader valve without losing freon. I'm not a big fan of these guys. They're about 20 bucks for the whole set. I don't care for them at all because it just never works the way it's supposed to work for me. Plus, I enjoy being able to look inside of the service port, see my schrader valve, take my tool and turn it out and turn it in. Again, I'm not a big fan of these, but you do what you want. So that's it, guys. And schrader valves. You can find schrader valve sets on Amazon, just about any place online, your local auto parts store. Remember, these pick sets, Harbor Freight, needle nose pliers to help you get out the orifice tube. They do make a orifice tube removal tool. I think Amazon and your local auto parts store or someplace online. You can just Google that. Again, take your time when you're removing the orifice tube, guys. I hope today's video has been beneficial to those of you who need to do repairs on your air conditioning system. And again, always make sure that your connections are nice and tight. Thanks for watching, guys, and catch you next trip.